Once in a while, a kitchen appliance comes along that revolutionizes cooking. Think the crock pot, the Instant Pot, and even an air fryer. And then there's this thing, the Sunbeam Rocket Grill, which definitely did not revolutionize cooking. I found this crazy device at the thrift store recently, and I have been cooking with it ever since. Today, I'm going to tell you all about what this thing is, demonstrate cooking with it, and explain why it was a questionable idea to begin with and, well, a pretty bad one now. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and we have another weird thrift store find. I found this new in the box recently. It is a Sunbeam Rocket Grill. Now, Sunbeam might sound familiar to you. They have been around a long time. The name goes back to the early 1900s and they made various kitchen appliances like mixers and toasters and coffee makers, and well, eventually this thing, the Rocket Grill. Now, from what little information I could gather on this, it appears that this came out around 2009 or so. I think it cost about $100 and you could buy it both in stores and on shopping channels, I believe like QVC. Now, I found this new in the box at the thrift store for only $20 and I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never heard of this, but it really kind of piqued my curiosity and I figured, well, let's give it a shot. Now, in case you're wondering, Sunbeam does not make this anymore. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, they don't make any kitchen appliances anymore. From a search on their site, I definitely couldn't find this, and well, all I could really find are like heating pads and things like that. So apparently Sunbeam has gotten out of kitchen appliances altogether, at least for now. But anyways, this is a grill, and I'm sure you know grills. Maybe you have a charcoal grill in your back or a propane grill, or maybe even an electric grill like a panini type press, or even an electric grill like that Zoji Rushi that we tested quite some time ago, another thrift store find. But anyways, those types of grills work by either the fire or coals underneath heating the grates and then cooking the meat, or by the grates themselves heating and then cooking the meat. Well, this thing is quite different. While this machine does have a pair of grates set vertically, not horizontally, the big difference with this machine is, well, the grates themselves don't contact the meat or vegetables or whatever you're cooking, but rather you put whatever you're cooking in a parchment bag specific to this machine, and then you lower it into the machine, and then the grates press up against the bag to cook whatever is in it. Now, on the box, Sunbeam says this method of cooking is 3 times faster, has 3 times less the amount of fat, and I don't know how, but 3 times less calories. But I think the main idea was that by putting food in the parchment bags, well, it collects the grease a lot easier and it's just less mess. Once you're done cooking whatever you're cooking in it, you just take it out of the one-time use bag, toss the bag, and you're good to go. There's no real cleanup. Now, here's the bag that these use. Again, these come with the machine, and it is a parchment bag that opens up, and this is where you put your food. And while cooking in a bag for grilling is a little bit different, especially for parchment paper, well, the idea of cooking food in a bag, well, that's actually not that novel. In fact, we did this quite a bit in culinary school, and the French call it in papillote. And I'm sure that I am not saying that correctly. But basically, the way it works for regular cooking in a bag is that you would put food in a parchment paper, usually something tender, like maybe a salmon fillet, and you bake it in an oven. And then what happens is, once it is done, you unfurl the parchment paper and you get a perfect, succulent, tender piece of fish or whatever you're cooking. But, well, its use in a grill is, I think, questionable at best. Now, I cooked several different types of foods with this grill, with this method, everything from hamburger buns to chicken to fish and vegetables, and I'll tell you how it went, but first let me give you a quick nickel tour of this machine and how it works. So as I said, the main grates are in here under this cover, and what happens is you load your food in the bag and you put it in, and then when you close this lid and turn it on, these grates come together and that's what cooks the food. Now, there's really no method of varying the heat or anything like that. It's either on or it's off. You have the on or off button here. You have a timer here that goes up to 15 minutes. And then you have a selection for either fresh or frozen foods. You can just kind of turn this switch and it'll do whatever it does. That's basically it. Interestingly, there is this guide here, this kind of cheat sheet for how long you should set the timer for various types of food. And then finally, there is a little drip tray here that comes out the bottom in case things drip. And in my experience, yes, things dripped. So the first thing I tried cooking with the Rocket Grill was a grilled cheese sandwich, and to be honest, that's actually what I had the best results with. The bread had nice grill marks, the cheese was perfectly melted, and well, I thought, hey, this is pretty neat, we're off to a good start. But it only went downhill from there because next up was hamburger patties. Yes, just some ordinary beef patties. So I cooked it in the machine with the specified time according to the wheel, and unfortunately the patties turned out dry, overcooked, but I will say the grease did drain to the bottom of the packet. But the only issue was, well, that made the patties way too dry. They did have good grill marks though, and I will say that even though I didn't eat the patties, I did have a couple of willing volunteers who gave them great reviews. The next thing to go into the Rocket Grill were some boneless, skinless chicken breast, thinly sliced, and while they cooked quickly in only just a matter of minutes, and they did get done to the proper temperature, they didn't look that great. Visually, the results were just kind of placid, and texture-wise, it was quite flaccid. It just wasn't very appetizing. Next up was a fish fillet, and here again I did have pretty good luck. It cooked the fish fillet quickly and the taste was quite good, as was the texture. Finally, it was vegetable time and I tried some asparagus spears that I had marinated in a simple combination of a vinaigrette. And well, unfortunately, the bag didn't quite fit into the machine the way I stuffed it, and even though they did ultimately cook, the bag burst and there was, well, those aforementioned drippings everywhere on the bottom. So my results cooking with the Rocket Grill were mixed at best. But that's just not my main issue with this thing because, well, I have a couple of them. And first of all, well, you can't regulate the heat, and once the food is in, it's in. You're not gonna really be turning it, you can't quite test it for doneness. I mean, once this thing is in, it's locked and loaded because a screen actually comes over the grill grates, so you can't even really touch what's inside. You have to wait for the timer to shut off and those grill grates to separate. So unlike any other cooking device, you can't really mess with the food once it's in there. Once it's in, and it's only got one temperature. It's either on or it's off. But my biggest issue with the Rocket Grill is these proprietary bags that it uses. Now, fortunately, these aren't being made anymore as far as I know because the Rocket Grill isn't being made anymore. So let's say you shelled out $100 for this thing when you bought it new, or you find one at a thrift store like I did. Well, unless you can find a bunch of bags to go with it, you're not going to be cooking with this thing. You can't really just put food on directly on the grates and have it cook, I think it's going to be a big old mess, because even with that drip tray that you can clean out, cleaning those grates you can't really do. They're not removable, they're stuck in there. So you got to have one of these. And this is where you might be thinking, well, can't you just make your own parchment bag? Well, that was my thinking too. So that's exactly what I did, is I tried to make my own parchment pouch, my en papillote, as they would say. And I created a pouch and I put some burger patties in it, and then I put it into the machine. Now, unlike the bags that come with the machine, there are no hooks on the bags that I made, so it didn't really just hang there. It just kind of plopped in. Fine. So I cooked it, and well, the results were a mess. Even though I cooked it in my own parchment bag for the appropriate time, the bag, well, first of all, dripped all over the machine. The burger patties weren't done, and well, they looked awful. Now, maybe somebody out there is a rocket grill enthusiast and they have figured out a way to make their own parchment papers, or they just bought like 1,000 of these things to have on hand. And well, if that's you, I would love to hear about your experience. But well, I think this is going to be just a footnote in some of the appliances that I've tried and tested, and the rocket grill will be rocketing itself back to the thrift store. I will redonate it with some bags. So I don't know, maybe a rocket grill enthusiast will find it and it will be their moment of joy. So that's the Sunbeam Rocket Grill. Again, a very interesting idea, and I can see its merits on easy cleanup and, you know, cooking fast. But well, my conclusion is you're just better off cooking with another device or cooking on a grill. You know, you can use an electric grill like we did with that Zojirushi. Panini press is great for making grilled cheese sandwiches. There's just a lot of other ways that you can grill and even easily have that fat drain, like with one of those, what were they called? The George Foreman grills. Even that, the fat drains away. And while it may not be as convenient as just tossing a bag with grease in it, I think you're going to get better results with something like that than, well, the rocket grill. Okay, trivia time, and speaking of weird devices, you were so helpful last week because it was the first time I was stumped, and several of you knew what this was, and I got a bit of learning. This is apparently an oreski, or a walnut cookie mold. Apparently these come from Eastern Europe or Russia or something like that, and well, I have not cooked with it, but well, it's in my arsenal, and unlike the rocket grill, I will be keeping this, so at some point I'll have to make a video on how to make those walnut cookies with the oreski. Okay, for this week's culinary trivia, we have, oh boy, what are these things? I almost feel like Gulliver and Gulliver's Travels, where, well, this is not an orange. What is this little tiny thing? If you know what this is, or you have a guess, put it in the comments below. Also, let me know if you like these things. Some people really love them. I will, of course, let you know the correct answer next week. Hey, as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you want to cook.